How you doing, folks? Scott here with Van Dorsen Custom Firearms, coming back with you with part 4 in our level 2 trigger and action job. Today we're going to be taking care of some of the action tuning aspects of the job. Last one you saw us do the trigger work, we've done the recontouring. Now we're going to look at the rest of the gun. We're going to be looking at the yoke, the cylinder, the action itself, and we're going to do some checking to make sure everything's aligned properly. So hopefully this will be really informative to you. We've got a few specialty tools that I'll explain as we go. And okay, let's get into it. Let's bring it down here. Okay, our first thing we're going to do is we're going to take the yoke and we're going to hone out the inside with a line hone. And not a hone, I'm sorry, reamer. We're going to ream it out. We're going to get all the burrs and debris or anything in there that is going to interfere with the spring and which will cause a drag with the rotation of the cylinder. And we have a special tool for this from Brownells. This is a yoke reaming tool. It's specifically what this is designed for. And you just run it down there a few turns. Depending on the gun, you'll have more resistance than others. This one you barely felt a thing, really. So this one's in pretty good shape. Okay, that one's honed out. Take a patch down in there and just run it a little bit. Get any chips or anything out of the way. All right, now we're going to take the yoke and we're going to put it back in the gun. We're going to close it up. We're going to put the pin back in there. The screw on the side to hold the yoke in place. Okay, that's going to keep the yoke aligned in its proper position. Okay. One of the things we're looking for here is we want, yeah, there's just a little bit of resistance. So you'll see in the action, right in here, grab something to point at it with. Okay, right in here, there's a little ring right here. That's contact on here, and that's what you want. Okay, you want this shoulder right here to contact right in there. And you'll be able to feel that. You know, there's no real good measurement, it's just a feel. You'll be able to feel just a slight little bit of resistance there. Okay, that's what you want. So that part is aligned properly. Okay, so now we're going to make sure the yoke is aligned properly with the bolt catch in there, or the cylinder catch, whichever you want to call it. As you know, this part right here on the cylinder will drop, so it's this pin right here on the center pin of the cylinder is going to drop right in the center of that there. So what we want to do is we want to make sure that the yoke is aligned properly so it goes right into it and there's no offset. Okay, we have a tool for that here. This is from Brownells. It's made of tool steel. It's perfect. It's been aligned properly. You insert that into the yoke. You go to the closed position. Now I've got the cylinder catch in here, and we want to pull that back because we don't want any interference. Okay, so pull that away, and all you got to do is make sure it drops right in, just like that. Okay, so you can see it being pushed back out. Okay. It won't come out. It's locked in place right now, just like the cylinder would be. Okay. Now, so that's good. That's what you want. And I kind of anticipated that from this gun. This gun is kind of a rarity coming from Smith & Wesson, and it really is a tight, well put together gun. It's what you would call a 1 in 100 gun. You guys recognize that sort of comment from Winchester 73. But that's what this gun is. I really lucked out when I found this one. It is well put together right from the factory. Okay, if for whatever reason it was out of alignment, you'll recognize this tool here, Power Custom Jig. This is for aligning the ejector rod. And now we won't be using that on this one because the 2-inch barreled ejector rod is too short. It doesn't work for it. I do it a different way. I get a different magnetic base and come in from the top, and I'll show you that one later. Okay, but this rod that comes with the kit has a special component right here. The larger hole, it's got 2 different sizes. Okay, the larger hole you slide right over. Okay, and with it open like this, you will push down or up or whichever side you need to with very slight pressure to bend it back into the correct position. Okay, again, with this gun, it is not necessary, and I'll probably do a pickup video when I find a gun that does require that. Okay, all right, so that's the yoke is now aligned properly. It has been line honed or reamed. So now we move on to the cylinder, and we're going to make sure that the cylinder has the minimal end shake. Okay. So now we're going to put the cylinder in the gun. Okay. Whenever you're doing this, do it with the front screw in the gun. That's the one that holds the yoke in place, and it's going to put it into its proper position. So you always want to check things with that screw in place so that everything is lined the way it's going to be when you're shooting the gun. Alright, now we're going to check end shake. End shake is the forwards and backwards movement of the cylinder. Okay, now again, there always has to be some. If you got it to where there's no movement forwards and backwards, the cylinder won't rotate at all. Okay, so you're always going to have some end shake. It's just getting it down to the minimum. Okay, now to check it, what we do is we take a feeler gauge, and I've already checked this out so I know where it's going to be. And but you take some feeler gauges. Let me bring you around this way. Okay. With this thumb over here, your right thumb, or if you're left-handed, flip it around, do it the other way. Push the cylinder forward, okay? And the gap between the front of the cylinder and the barrel is what we're measuring. Okay. So that's 15 thousandths, and it's a little snug. We're going to drop down to 14 thousandths. Okay. Now we got a good fit at 14 thousandths. It's snug, but it will go in. Okay. All right. Now the 15 thousandths. Okay, doesn't want to go in. All right, so now we want to push it the other way. We want to push it back. Okay, again, having your thumb back here. Now we're pushing it towards the back. We were pushing it towards the front before. Now we're pushing it towards the back, and we're going to come in with the feeler gauges again. Now we are at 14 thousandths for the forward. Let's see what it does at 15. And 15 just barely goes in there. Okay, there we go. 15 just barely goes in there. So you're talking about less than a thousandths of a difference. Okay. Now that is fantastic. And you know, this gun, again, this gun came from the factory with that measurement. So that's fantastic. It doesn't need any adjustments. Now I'm going to show you what you do if you do need some adjustments. Okay. Okay, we're going to take the cylinder back out. Okay. Okay, now if you did need some adjustments, what you do, reinstall this tool here. Now this time what this tool is going to do is it's going to give support to the inside of the cylinder. And you have this tool here, and this is from Brownells. Now this may look like just a normal pipe cutter, but it's got one major difference, is that it's not sharp. It's been flattened and dulled. So now what it does is it's going to stretch the length of the yoke. Okay. So you would install it onto the very tip here, and you want to keep it like right in this area here. And get to my pointer. You want to have it lined up right here. Okay, you don't want it down here or in the middle. You want it right here at the edge, because that's where it's going to stretch the easiest. Okay. So you install this. Okay, and just like using a pipe cutter, okay, that's how you're going to install it. That's where you're going to have it lined up. And just like using a pipe cutter, as you turn it, you rotate it around, and it's going to push the metal out. Okay, so you turn it a little bit, rotate it, turn it a little more, rotate it again, turn it in a little more, and rotate it again, and that'll push the metal out, so it's going to get longer, and it's going to tighten up the end shake. Now, if you go too far, and now it's so tight that it won't fit in the gun, okay, which that does happen, and actually that's where you want to get it to anyways. You want to get it to where it doesn't fit, and then you have another tool here that goes in, and you can rotate it and take a bit of metal off, and it'll be perfectly square and aligned. Now I'm not trying to take any metal off right now because everything fits perfectly on this gun. Okay? So that's two of the points that we do. Okay? That's a lot of the action tuning. That's going to make sure everything is perfectly aligned. Now in extreme cases, if I was building a competition gun, I would chuck up the cylinder and I'd take some measurements and find out where the high point is. And all I would do is come around and make sure everything is perfectly square. Now ideally, you only do that when you're replacing the barrel, because now you can adjust the cylinder gap between the barrel and the cylinder in accordance with everything being flattened. If I were to do it now, even though this gun's fairly tight, you could end up with too much gap and you lose performance. So I don't recommend doing that unless you're replacing the barrel. Okay? Now, what we're going to do next. Some of you may have noticed that my cylinder has got a bunch of Dicom on here. And we are going to bevel the chamber mounts, okay? That's why I've got the Dicom on there, so you can see as I cut how that's going to work. Okay? If you don't have one of these pen devices, I recommend them a lot. It's like having a third hand, and it's really handy. Okay. The tool we're going to use, this is it here. Okay. It's going to put a 45-degree bevel on each chamber. The guide here is brass, so you're not going to mar anything on the inside, and it is also properly cut for the 357-38 specials. Now, here's the tool kit for that. That's the Brownells kit. Alright. Now, I'm going to recommend something. When you look these up in Brownells, you're going to have different cutters for all different calibers. But honestly, just get the 38 357 one, and you can use it on everything else. I've used it on 44, 45, 480, 460, of course, it's the same as 45. I haven't tried it on a 500 yet, haven't had anybody request it, but if you just buy the one cutter, you can spend your money getting the different sizes of the guides. Okay, so that saves you a little bit of money there. Okay, so that's a handy tool to have. All right, back to the actual job. Make sure we got a good angle on here. Okay. I'm going to put some oil on here, and I always use just regular gun oil. It works, and you're not going high speed, so you don't need any kind of high speed cutting fluid. Okay, and yes, I do this with the ratchet in here. There is enough space using the 38 special that it will clear the ratchet and it won't have any kind of interference on the ratchet. Okay, now if you cut too far on the ratchet, you can have a problem with extraction, because when you go to extract it, it'll want to push around it instead of pushing hard against it. If that's a concern for you, if you don't want to, make sure you don't want to do that, then by all means remove the ratchet and only cut the cylinder. It'll accomplish most of the same job, not quite as well, but it'll do most of it. I like to do it this way because I don't take too much off of there to where it's going to affect performance. Okay, just a few turns. That's all it takes. Not too much pressure. Let the cutters do their job. You don't need to put a whole lot of pressure on here. Okay, and you can see, hopefully, on that one there, how much we got going already. Okay, maybe just a little bit more. And what this does is this is going to keep rounds from hanging up as you're loading them. Yep, and that's good. Okay, and we're going to move on to the next one, and we're just going to do the same thing. You want to try and keep them all uniform so they all look good. All right, 3 down, 3 to go. There's really no specific dimension that I'm looking for. I've seen the ways some other gunsmiths do it. Some of them take a huge amount off, and they really bevel the heck out of them. Possibly for the sake of a competition gun when they're going to be using moon clips anyways. But as far as a everyday carry gun and performance issue, I don't take too much off. Really all you need to do is break the edge, and that'll keep any rounds from hanging up when you don't want them to. This cuts fairly easily. Like I said, it doesn't require a lot of pressure. Hardly any pressure at all. You want to let the cutters do the job. Okay, that one's done. One more to go. more. Okay, that's good. Let me show you what that looks like. Okay, so here you go. Hopefully as I move this around you can see the shiny area where it was cut through the dicom. That's the great thing about using the layout fluid, the dicom, is it helps me show the contrast of the work I just did compared to where it was. Okay, now the next step in this process would have been to polish the chambers. Okay, and to polish the chambers, we have a honing tool. This is a ball hone. And we would have ran it in here with a high-speed drill and polished the chambers up and get them all nice and shiny so that you don't have any extraction issues. However, my drill took a dump on me, so I got to run out and buy a new drill. So I'm not going to get to show you that today. I will show that to you in a later one. I'll do a pickup video. So you'll be able to see how that comes out, and I'll show you the difference in the polish, how different it really makes it. Okay. But that's what we got today. It was a really quick video. Didn't take much time. It didn't need as much work, but I hope at least it got you an idea of the stuff that a gunsmith is doing when he does a full action job to a Smith & Wesson revolver. You know, again, there's a lot of people out there that just think, well, all they do is put in some new springs and that's it. I can guarantee you we don't just put in new springs. Again, this is part of the level 2 package of my trigger jobs, the trigger and action jobs. The level 1 package is just the trigger work that you saw in the last video. All of this additional stuff is part of the level 2 package, which gets you a lot more performance benefits. So, I hope you enjoyed it. I hope this is being informative. So, next week, what are we going to now? Oh, next week we are going to start with doing a crane detent. Okay? That'll be the next step in this. That's going to be interesting. A lot of you guys aren't totally familiar with how that works, and that'll be some good information for you. I will do the chamber polish, and I'll show that to you next week, because I'll go get a drill. I hope you're enjoying the videos. I enjoy kind of informing people of the extensive work that we do on these guns, so I hope you're enjoying it too. This is Scott with Van Dorsten Custom Firearms, your friendly neighborhood gunsmith, and I will see you next time.